of the contract, the giving of the money, the writing of the check. And so when people try to close the deal with you, try to figure out, why are they trying to close the deal with me? Is this deal closure happening in an appropriate time? You know, there's an appropriate time for things to happen. For example, for a police officer, when I stop a car and I turn the lights on, I have in my mind, I know where that car is going to stop because I've done it thousands of times. So I predict where that car is going to stop, and it's going to stop at a certain distance. If it doesn't stop at a certain distance, which is the closure of my deal, then I start having these little hairs in the back of my neck go up. You know, why are we driving a mile past where I turn the lights on and turning down this dark alley where there's absolutely no lights? Is there anything bad going to happen to me here today? Probably. And so, you know, if someone's doing a transaction with you and all of a sudden they just want you to sign, you got to sign right now, I got to do it today, one time only, you know, why is that? You know, is something else that's going on? So use that instinct that God gave you and pay attention to it instead of going, okay, and following the little yeses to the big yeses. You know, just say no somewhere in there. Take your time and figure out what's actually going on and get back in control of the situation.
Funny you say the thing about the hair on your neck. I happened to come across something I was going to share with you. This retired police chief for the New York Police Department. Right when he retired, somebody asked him in the interview, give us some advice. What can the average Joe on the street do to protect themselves? And this is what he said. At some point, just before something bad is going to happen to you, those little hairs on the back of your neck stand up, and they're telling you not to cross the street or not to go farther, to turn around, or something else. If the average person paid attention to those little hairs standing up on the back of their necks, they live a long time. Those little hairs stand up because your intuition is trying to tell you not to do something or warn you of imminent danger.
That's true.
The other thing I think was interesting is a little bit of an aside, but when you get yourself in one of those bad situations, sometimes it just who you are, that instincts also, if we'll listen to them, tell us what to do. Like there's not, like in some situations, to beat the guy up like Betty did might not necessarily be the answer. And in the DeBecker book, The Gift of Fear, he says, it's important to listen to your instincts that'll tell you, if you're listening, how to handle that situation. Sometimes you can talk your way out of it, or sometimes it's, do you agree with that?
I agree. Yes. I think there's lots of ways to talk yourself out of it, whatever it may be, whether it's a business transaction, or someone's trying to force you to sign something, or whether it's the guy in the front yard that's talking to you, or the person that knocked on your front door. You know, we were talking about a little bit earlier, if you don't mind, about being, you know, Southern gentleman, Southern lady, and being welcoming. We always feel like somebody knocked on the door, I must open it. Why? You know, what's wrong with looking through the peephole and going, I don't know who that is, I don't need to talk to them. Well, you know, the same thing applies. So when you feel that instinct, when you feel something isn't quite right, when you feel this transaction isn't going good, when you feel I'm having pressure on me, there's other things you can do. One thing is you can say, no, I don't think so. Or you can say, no, I don't really feel comfortable with this transaction. Let me think about it and I'll come back with you tomorrow. And then they'll keep pushing you and pushing you. And if they keep pushing you after that, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, you should say no. Just simply say no. Or sometimes it's just walk away. Okay? Not everything, as you were saying, ends up with, you know, a piece of firewood and the raging mad mother. But sometimes it does. But you should have a plan in your mind always about what you're going to do, what if. You know, I always talk to police officers, say, think about what you're going to do if something happens. Because if you think about it ahead of time about what you're going to do if something happens, then when it's time for that to happen, or it does happen, you already have something to do. You don't have to create it. And that's a lot less stressful. And so I say, what if life? And people say, well, you could what if yourself to death? I say, yeah, you can. But it's just something that you should think about.
Great. Well, David, you touched on business, and I'm going to ask you in a minute to talk about creativity. And I'd like you to share a little bit, because I know you said, particularly as a result of your experience, that with your golfers, you use instinct a lot.
Well, I think it's funny too, is growing up playing golf and going on and playing in college, I obviously used instinct and gut. That's how I became a great player. And that's with any athlete. I think the best athletes and the best at their game are trusting. They know themselves as a player. They know what they can accomplish. If their voice is saying you haven't practiced enough, they get out and go practice. You know, intuition and gut feelings are all about athletics, I feel like. So here I was like that, but then I got in this situation and didn't trust them at first. So I think that's interesting, you know. But yeah,
Has it helped the game?
Cheryl knows she's trying to get me back into playing. I teach golf, and this past couple of months, for the first time in 12 years, I'm getting back into the game. And yes, it is improving my game. So
How, I mean, how does instinct, because I don't play golf, so I don't know how that would improve. I know we have golfers in the audience.
we do, and you have to trust. You have to know, like to perform well and maximize your performance, you have to know what you're capable of and when to pull off a certain shot when you're capable of it and when you should play it safe. Golf is all about strategy, playing one shot at a time. It's like playing a game of checkers or parcheesi or whatever, and just knowing the gut thing of your game, your performance, what you're capable of, and pulling the one shot that you need at the time that you know that you can do it. I also help place college athletes, and I use instinct and intuition a lot with that because it boils down to where they want to attend school. I tell them to keep a notebook and pay very close attention in their visits to how did you feel when you got on campus? Is this someplace, you know, did it feel warm and inviting, or did it feel kind of like, oh, I'm not sure about this. What are your feelings? What's your gut? What's your mind telling you, and all that? Instead of letting self-talk and worry and anxiety and everything take over, and to really trust themselves. So it's a big, you know, it's a big part of me raising 4 children too, and you have to trust yourself.
Oh, definitely.
So I am definitely a different person after this happened to me 12 years ago.
Well, it sounds too like, in terms of golf, in terms of the business, in terms of that, in terms of yourself, you always have that sense of trust in yourself. What caught you up was the social expectations.
That's true. I was raised by, you know, my mother passed away, but oh my gosh, I think back. I mean, I think about that a lot. We had every vacuum salesman back in the 60s selling vacuums. You know, we had the milk delivered, the Charlie's chips delivered. You know, you had everything delivered to your home, and they didn't just drop it off. They were sitting at the table, you know, having meals and cups of coffee. I mean, our home was just an open thing. But I think, you know, again, going back, times have changed. You know, one of my first tips is never open the door to door-to-door salesperson. We've got cell phones, internet, phones, you know, every form of communication to sell us something. I just think it's time to drop having to open the door.
Well, each of you are gonna take home tonight the book, A Gift of Fear by Gavin Becker. So as you exit, you'll take that. And also Betty has, I'm trying to prompt her because she's doing her book, but we're